Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to Shloka Day. Today's Shloka is Shloka number 17 of chapter 16. Atma Sambhavita Stabdha
Atma Sambhavita Stabdha
Dhanamana Madanvita
Dhanamana Madanvita
Yajante Nama Yajnaiste
Yajante Nama Yajnaiste
Dambhena Vidhipurvakam.
Dambhena Vidhipurvakam.
Our meaning, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Atma Sambhavita,
Atma Sambhavita,
self-complacent.
self-complacent.
Stabdha,
Stabdaha,
impudent.
impudent.
Dhanamana,
Dhanamana,
of wealth and false prestige.
of wealth and false prestige.
Mother,
Mother,
in the delusion.
the delusion.
Anvitaha,
Anvitaha,
absorbed.
absorbed.
Yajante,
Ejante,
they perform sacrifice.
they perform sacrifice.
Nama,
Nama,
in name only.
in name only.
Yajnaihi,
Yajnaihi,
with sacrifices.
with sacrifices.
They,
They,
dambhena,
dambhena,
out of pride.
out of pride.
Avidhi purvakam,
Avidhi purvakam,
without following any rules and regulations.
without following any rules and regulations.
Translation: self-complacent
Self-complacent
and always impudent,
and always impudent,
deluded by wealth and false prestige.
deluded by wealth and false prestige.
They sometimes proudly perform
sacrifices
in name only,
sacrifices in name only,
without following any rules or regulations.
without following any rules or regulations.
Prabhupada writes in the purport, thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority or scripture, the demoniacs sometimes perform so-called religious or sacrificial rites. And since they do not believe in authority, they are very impudent. This is due to illusion caused by accumulating some wealth and false prestige. Sometimes such demons take up the role of preacher, mislead the people, and become known as religious reformers or as incarnations of God. They make a show of performing sacrifices, or they worship the demigods, or manufacture their own God. Common men advertise them as God and worship them. And by the foolish, they are considered advanced in the principles of religion or in the principles of spiritual knowledge. They take the dress of the renounced order of life and engage in all nonsense in that dress. Actually, there are so many restrictions for one who has renounced this world. The demons, however, do not care for such restrictions. They think that whatever path one can create is one's own path. There is no such thing as a standard path one has to follow. The word avidhi purvakam, meaning a disregard for the rules and regulations, is especially stressed here. These things are always due to ignorance and illusion. Virtuous people perform sacrifice to purify the self and to please God. The travesty is that demoniac people also perform sacrifices, but with an impure intent. They do grandiose ritualistic ceremonies so as to look pious in the eyes of society. But they do not adhere to the injunctions of the scriptures and instead perform sacrifices for personal advertisement and pretentious display. However, the injunction of the scriptures is guhitasya bhavet vriddhihi kirtitasya bhavet kshayaha. From Mahabharata. If we advertise a good deed we have done, its merit decreases. If we keep it a secret, its merit multiplies. In this verse, Sri Krishna dismisses the ritualistic ceremonies of the demoniac by saying that they are incorrectly performed. From His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, that fanatics use God's name to give God a bad name. The news often reports how religious fanatics kill innocent people and justify their barbarity in the name of God. Such reports, coupled with ghastly imagery, fill many people with revulsion toward not just religious fanaticism, but also religion itself. Even those who don't become averse toward religion view it with suspicion or at least apathy. So, all these acts being performed in the name of religion, in the name of God, that is a violation of the scriptures, actually makes it difficult for us to propagate Krishna consciousness. Because so many people are suspicious. They don't want anything to do with religion because they feel if they get caught in this trap, they will also be doing the same thing, propagating hate, propagating distrust. This is not religion. And because religion is centered on God, it is God who ends up getting bad press, all because of those who press his name into service for their extremist agendas. Foreseeing such misappropriation of religion, the Bhagavad Gita states that demonic people often perform religious activities in name only. Such people want to boost their prestige or power in society's eyes and in their own eyes, not in God's eyes. They don't want to become an instrument for God's purposes. They want to make God an instrument for their purposes. So they want to use God. They don't want to serve God. They want to exploit God. They don't want to surrender to the God. Fanatics don't represent God. The Gita describes that God is the well-wisher of everyone from Sloka 29 of chapter 5. And those devoted to him similarly become well-wishers of everyone from Sloka 13 of chapter 12. In fact, the devoted are described as gentle, kind, tolerant, humble, composed from Shlokas 13 to 20, qualities that are opposite to those found in fanatics. How can fanaticism and the associated bad press be prevented? By martial and intellectual measures. Martially, fanatics need to be penalized. Intellectually, vigorous education is needed about the true nature of devotion, about the errors in fanatical conceptions of devotion, and about how such conceptions are peddled by self-interested people for furthering their own interests. Of course, people who violate the state laws should be punished, but at the end of the day, we have to propagate Krishna consciousness so that everybody becomes God-loved. And understand that God is meant to be served, not to utilize God's name to propagate your own agendas. Such education can minimize the mass alienation from religion, which happens as a reflex reaction to terrorism. It can also help those targeted by radicalization to see how their faith is distinct from its fanatical spin-offs. Thus, the way to fight fanaticism is to promote better philosophical understanding of God's purpose and greater practical alignment for our purpose with his purpose. So ultimately, we all have to study Shastra. We have to understand it properly, but under the guidance of Guru and Sadhu. So scriptures, studying scriptures on your own can be quite dangerous because you may end up becoming a radical. So that is what the Lord is saying here, that ultimately those who have these demoniac qualities, they are quite proud because of their accomplishments. And even so, they perform sacrifices, but they perform sacrifices so that they can get the public acclaim that they're looking for. But they don't do this by following any rules or regulations. And this, of course, the Lord will clarify in the 17th chapter, how they, if you don't follow any rules or regulations, that all of the charity that you've performed is actually a simple waste because there's no benefit. Krishna uses the word asat in the last shloka of the 17th chapter, essentially saying there is no truth or permanence behind such kind of sacrifices. So sacrifices have to be performed as per Vedic scriptures and predominantly and primarily and only for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord.
If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification. If you'd like to join our classes every day, please check the details in the description section of this video. We look forward to serving you.